Look at that. Boom. I'm loving how this came out. I told you guys I'd show you what it looked like when it's fully inked out in this next video. Here we are. So today we're just going to be doing some gray tone shading. I'll show you guys how I add gray tones to my manga. But before we get into the art, I want to show you guys kind of my routine every single time I get into an art session. Now it's not much of a routine, but every single time I get into an art session, I pull up this glass cleaner just because, for one, it's kind of satisfying to use. The only drawback with having like a glass desk like I have found is that grease really builds up on it really easy. You can see fingerprints and everything. It gets kind of gross, so I have this little rag that I use every single day. So every time I start an art session, I pull up this and I get it looking very, very shiny for you guys and for myself. If you guys can see my latest YouTube short, I bought a book and we're gonna open it up. We're gonna open this up very, very carefully because my girlfriend, she actually wants the paper bag. She thinks it's very cute. So this is what I got at this really cute little manga store in Little Tokyo, Los Angeles. And I got Planets by Yukimura. This is my favorite author. He does Vinland Saga as well. They literally have this stuff still packaged. A lot of the books they have there is shipped straight from Japan. They even have the Weekly Shonen Jump. I do plan on taking you guys on a little vlog on one of these videos, going back to Little Tokyo and going to that manga store, kind of showing you around because Little Tokyo is super, super cool. But anyways, let's rip off this plastic wrap. I know some of you manga collectors are probably like, no, don't rip it off. Oh man, that is very clean. That is really nice. Peep some of the artwork. This is some of Yukimura's like earlier stories. The artwork is definitely, it's not as, I guess, I wouldn't say not as nice. It's just not what you see in current Vinland Saga. Oh, oh man. Okay, we're gonna ignore that. The way you connect to the characters in this story is fantastic. I can totally see why people care so much for the people in Vinland Saga, because Yukimura is a master when it comes to writing people and making you care for them. Anyways, enough of this. Let's pull out the current work of art. Today we're going to be adding our gray tones. This thing right here is probably what you guys will see me use the most on this page. This is an aqua brush. It pretty much, this is like a capsule of water, and you usually can dip it into ink or paint to get that watercolor consistency. But what I did is I just put a little bit of ink in the tube itself to get like a lower opacity ink, and I use that for my shading. With this, I can literally get every tone that a Copic can. I still use these. So I still use my Copics because sometimes I want like a set color for something. And this is a great job at it because you're going to get one set tone when it comes to like an N1, for example. As of this, the more times you go over it, it gets darker each time. So this is what I use to get the gray tones. I'm going to throw it onto this page. Let's get to it. For next video, guys, I swear we're not gonna be working on this wall anymore. I'm sure you guys would actually like me to illustrate some characters. I'm sure that'd be more fun to watch, but bear with me. It doesn't really matter where we start when it comes to gray tones, so we're just gonna start right here. There's already a little bit different shade right there. And we're gonna go over all these little bumps and give them that kind of shade. And then once they dry, we're gonna go over it again to make it a little darker. See, look how good that looks. But yeah, let's just get into this. We'll just keep hitting all these little stones. This right here, though, is going to be a really tricky spot because it's such an open white area that we're going to have to like be really smart about it. And right there, we did it. If you do have to like overlap your strokes, like I kind of did here, do it in a circle motion. It's a lot more organic than going, straight lines. This is where the fun happens though, is adding the ink around the carving. That is what's gonna make it pop. The gray that surrounds this white carving, that is what's gonna bring the carving to life. I just like to fill each one of these kind of like rocks, I guess. These bumps, I usually fill each bump with a shade, because I think that's just the easiest way when it comes to using the aqua brush. Because if I got this and tried to fill it all and just by circling the whole thing, I think it would come out really bad. I think this is the best method. But at the same time, do whatever works well for you. Eventually this aqua brush will run out of water, and when that happens, it's a really simple fix. When the brush starts getting dry, all you have to do is squeeze this, and then more water comes gushing to the brush. I will say when you guys do kind of reload the water into the brush, you guys want to really shade fast on those first few strokes because there's a lot of water in the brush and you don't want to put too much water on the page at one time. You can kind of damp the page a bit if you go overboard. We're actually going to add a little bit of water to it right now. I'm gonna move the page out of the way because I never like to add water with the page under it in case too much water comes out. We're gonna start down here. If too much water comes out, I want it to be in a spot that's initially planned to be a darker area. I think for the most part, I actually might have the grass be white too. And I think that'll also kind of separate that within the rocks, give more depth. Because if I keep the grass this tone as well, then I think you won't even realize it's grass. So who knows? It's all about depth. As you guys can see, it's really easy. It's also a lot of fun. It's really cool to see the different tone shapes and stuff and how that kind of looks, and it's a fun process. Shout out to my man Bufo. Bufo is the one that actually recommended this to me. If you guys don't know who Bufo is, I'll put a little image like right here. Like, he is a fan of the OG comic book creation. Like he's got a really cool art style. Reminds me of that OG kind of art that you'd see in like the older comic books, but at the same time having a very unique style. You guys don't know any context, but I will say that this is a really, really awesome page within chapter 8. That being said, when you have really cool pages in your story, it only makes sense you get excited to illustrate it. And that's me right now. When I got to chapter 3 in my story, which is a really, really big chapter within the story, I remember I got that feeling a lot where I'm like, whoa, I'm actually illustrating some of these scenes that I thought about for so long. You guys see that? You guys see how nice that is? The way I can so easily just brush this over the stone so quickly as well. That's something you can't do with the Copic. Copic ink is too dense. Alrighty, now that we have completely covered the entire page with one shade of gray, we're gonna go over it again, and that's when the depth will really start to pop. All right, we're gonna start kind of like where the hatching is. The hatching, for one, is like a classic way to do shading with just a pen, but we're doing more than that. We're using an aqua brush. So when we go over these hatches, making that gray even darker, it's gonna make it feel like the lighter part of the rock is closest to you, and the darker part of the rock is a little bit farther away. They're like cracks, so the cracks are obviously darker, less light is hitting the crack. You get the idea. That's looking pretty good. We're already kind of seeing a difference. Like right here, the difference in that depth and compared to everything else, it's pretty obvious. And we're gonna take this to a whole nother level. Like, this is just stage 1. We're gonna hit like stage 6. There's gonna be a lot of steps into this. I think I might even just kind of like run along the carving again, like with this shade, because I do want this part to be darker. Right now I'm kind of flicking the brush away from it, away from the carving, to kind of get this rolling effect. I don't know if it's actually working, but that is the goal. So if you guys ever see me kind of flick my pen or brush, it's because I'm trying to get some more motion to it. This little piece itself, let me zoom in on that. Let me move over. Like this little piece itself, like that looks like the wider part looks like it's closest to you. Like that's the magic, and that's kind of where we're looking for this entire thing. I will say, as I kind of shade this, I would have liked to have seen like the actual carving maybe a little bit wider. I think that was something that I'm now realizing I wish I changed. Still looks good nonetheless. Because the grays on this, they're just so subtle when you darken it, that if I were to just make an outline that kind of goes around the entire carving, it's like it's not too noticeable. Bring in the other rocks into it. Just like that, you can immediately make it all blend together. And to kind of just make more of this dark, so that's just not one like odd dark spot, we're going to use a lot of this ink and kind of go over some other spots too. Definitely these crosshatch spots, you know. Bring this in, because this right here is a pretty dark divot within that rock, and we're going to do the same thing on the other side. some zooming in action now for you so you guys can really see kind of what we're doing up close. Getting this pen, we're just running along this, and then we're just kind of flicking it out along like the grooves of the stone, the grooves of the wall. And right there, we're already kind of building some depth. And we're gonna go on this other side here, swoops around, boom, come in here, boom, circle around this rock so this little center part is still a little bit lighter. Without worrying too much about messing up, you guys can see a little bit more what I've been doing, because there's so much deep carvings in here. There's not going to be a lot of light in here, so we're really just running this ink over it. Let's see what we've done. Done a lot of work here, a lot of work here, a lot of stuff going down here. This all looks great. I think what we got to go more in depth with is kind of this spot. We have some good tones going on, but we need to make them darker, make it darker in the crack to really kind of show how alive this wall can look. Got this deep carving right here. We're gonna go over it a few times and then bring it out right into there. This right here, that one just little thing we did already added so much. Yeah, right there. Looking good. We want to get this darker spot too, because that's where that carving is. We're actually gonna go over this one more time, honestly. I think having that really dark, kind of when it dries, it will tie super well into this. Over here too. Bring it around here, boom. That's looking super sweet. Over here. Now we're really making this corner feel just as alive as the rest of the page. Boom. Got another like dark tone right in this crack. Oh yeah, look at that. This hatching right here could definitely need some darker work, so we're actually gonna use what we've created here and bring it in to this and darken this whole thing. And we're gonna use actually a little bit of this crack too to connect it to this spot so we can make the darker shading around that crack to feel more organic, like it's actually connected to another part within the wall. Hoping that when you guys watch this, I'm giving enough detail on how I'm doing it so you guys can do it yourself. Wowzers. That's looking amazing, actually. That looks really, really good. I'm seeing that middle section right here. Once it dried, it looks really good, actually. Here, watch this. We're gonna put the aqua brush away for a second. We're gonna pull out just the 005. This marker's actually running out. And honestly, when you got a marker that's running out, low key, it can be kind of nice, because then you're not getting too dark of a line. You're just getting just enough. That works super well with textures. Like, look at that. Now that looks like it belongs, don't it? I always get these questions on, what do you do when you mess up? You improvise. Like, look at that. What issue? I don't see any issue now. Same thing with over here. Like, if we want, we can even just add some dots. Like, literally, you guys probably can't even see those dots, but it really does the difference. Yeah, that looks like it belongs now. We just fixed an issue that's no longer an issue. Bada bing, bada boom. All right, guys, I think we're actually done with this page. I think it came out really good. In terms of showing you guys how to use gray tones, this is probably the best page to do it. And we really added a lot of depth to this wall. I'm very, very happy with how it came out. And every single time I end my pages, I always title everything. I add a nice little signature box here. And that is what my signature looks like. With the signature on the page, we have a completely finished page. I will not add anything else. I might add a gray layer in Photoshop on the wall, and that would just kind of darken everything, but we still get everything that we just did will still be there. It will just be a little bit darker. And that's just an easy way for me to cut some time. But yeah, this page is done. Boom. One final look before I put this sucker away. Gosh, that looks good. Thank you to everyone that tuned into this video. Really appreciate the support I got my last video. Next drawing kind of video, we're definitely gonna go more into some in-depth character inking and stuff, because I know you guys probably wanna see me actually draw some characters, so be on the lookout for the next drawing vid. Other than that, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube outro stuff, and until the next one.